Who is the best scrum half on earth then? That's what I'm going to count down on this player power ranking video. And controversial statement for you. I think of all the positions on the rugby pitch, this might be the poorest in terms of overall quality. And that's not helped by the fact that Aaron Smith is now retired from international rugby, so he can no longer be part of my top 10. Those are the rules I came up with. That's what I'm sticking to. So no Aaron Smith on this list. A massive miss because he is truly world class. Could still do the job now, right? But when you look down the rest of the top 10, I think there's a lack of quality. And over the next 4 years building up to the World Cup in Australia in 27, there needs to be a bit of freshening up and development of the field of scrum halves in world rugby. Let me know what you think in the comments below. That's one way you can help grow the channel. You can also help me by giving the video a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe. First one in my top 10. And this is maybe the first of a few selections that you might find slightly controversial, in which case tell me how or if I'm wrong, or if you agree even. I really like Nick White. I recognise I may be slightly biased because of the years that I spent watching him play in England for Exeter Chiefs when he was a European and Premiership champion, and he was absolutely brilliant and a really important part of that. But whenever I see him play, he strikes me as a scrum half who can do the nuts and bolts that a scrum half needs to do. A really good kicking game, great service, make good decisions, and he can snipe and do some of the other things as well. He's a real all-rounder, and I don't understand personally. I think Tate McDermott's great. I think Lonergan looks like a handy player, but I don't personally understand why he was number 2 behind Tate McDermott for Australia and behind Lonergan at the Brumbies. I'm pleased he's gone to the Western Force and he's there for the next couple of years. The temptation, obviously, of a British and Irish Lions tour was too much to stop him leaving Australia, so he's not going to Japan where he had offers, and he's staying put. He's 33 years of age, and Nick White, I think, is class. Number 9, Maxim Luu, Antoine Delm's backup, plays for Bordeaux in the top 14, and he's been a part of this French squad for the last couple of years, was part of the Grand Slam winning team in 2022, was backup for Antoine Delm at the World Cup just gone, and he is a classic French petit général, the 9 who can also play 10. And he's a really good player. But is he the second best French scrum half? More on that in a minute. Maxim Luu, though, at number 9. Gareth Davies is back to some of his best rugby. He has been, well, he made his debut 10 years ago, I want to say. I remember the dagger to the heart of his try at Twickenham during the 2015 World Cup when Wales beat England. Ugh. But he was doing it again 8 years later in the World Cup just gone, and scoring a brilliant try against Australia. He looks lean and sharp, and he's got the muscle tone of a chimp. He's got nearly 80 caps under his belt for Wales, 2 British and Irish Lions tours, no test caps in that, but maybe he'll think that the way he's playing, he might be able to get himself involved in the squad in a couple of years' time. I wouldn't put it past him the way he's playing right now. Gareth Davies at number 8. At number 7, Cam Roigard, who only has a handful of caps to his name and was not selected above Finlay Christie during the Rugby World Cup for the most part, and yet I've got him at number 7 and I don't have Finlay Christie in my top 10, spoiler alert. What do you make of that as well? It's a little bit like the Nick White selection. I'm sort of suggesting that I know better than the international coaches. Maybe I do. What do you think? Tell me if I'm wrong. Surely he's going to be handed more responsibility now with no Aaron Smith, with Scott Robertson looking to evolve the team over the next 4 years. He's the youngest guy on the list of scrum halves at 23 years of age, and he looks to have all the attributes to go on and be a real top player. Number 6, another arguably surprising selection, Baptiste Serran, was not even in France's World Cup squad. So 4th choice French scrum half. I think he's better than Quiu, and I think he's better than Luu. Hence, he's number 6. He's an absolute genius. He's like he's an artist, and the rugby pitch is his canvas. The way he plays is very much like that. And I wonder if that's why he's not in the French squad, because they've got a clear best scrum half in Antoine Delm. And maybe Fabien Galtier doesn't want another person who's like Delm with that flair and unpredictability, and he wants more kind of rigid, regimented scrum halves to be a foil for Delm. I think that might be what's going on. So, with Antoine Delm going to play in the Olympics this summer and not being part of the French squad for the Six Nations, is this Baptiste Serran's opportunity? Interestingly, when Dupont made his debut in 2017, he replaced Baptiste Serin. Could Dupont going and playing Olympic rugby mean that Serin gets back on the scene? I think he might leapfrog all the other scrum halves and be the starter. Still only 29, 44 caps to his name, playing really well at Toulon. And I really like Baptiste Serin. Tell me what you think. Number 5, Kobus Ratu. Another scrum half in his 30s. We've had, well, he's the 4th so far. 33 years young. And his superpower is his absolute elite speed. He is rapid. And another player that I've enjoyed watching when he was in the Premiership for Northampton. He's now with Montpellier in the top 14. He scored the fastest hat-trick in World Rugby in 2019. That was against... forgotten who that was against now. Can't remember. He scored a hat-trick in the 2019 World Cup. And then almost broke that same record when he played Romania in the World Cup just gone and scored a hat-trick in 23 minutes. Ever so slightly slower. That just gives you a little hint of what the guy's like. He's got 2 World Cups to his name. He's just a star. Kobus Ratu at number 5. Well done, Santiago Arata, representing Tier 2 rugby. Uruguay's absolute star. Another player playing in the French top 14 at Cast. 27 years of age, and he had a wonderful World Cup. Uruguay will be disappointed they only won the 1 game against Namibia, where, by the way, Arata, if you remember, scored a worldie of a try, set up a couple of others as well. They were really targeting that win against Italy. Arata was brilliant in that game. Uruguay just came up short. But I remember that opening weekend against France. And Arata just played out of his skin in front of was that the second weekend? Yeah, it was the second weekend, I beg your pardon. Opening night was against New Zealand, wasn't it? But yeah, it was that second game for France against Uruguay. It was their first game. That's why I'm getting confused. And Arata was just awesome. Awesome. And yeah, he's number 4. No argument in my mind. And every other nation except for South Africa, Ireland and France, and Arata would be starting number 9 for that country. I wish he was English. Number 3, and another player that I've really enjoyed watching in the Premiership in England. In fact, I live in Manchester and he plays at Sale Sharks, the local team, so I've seen him a bunch of times. And what can you say about Faf de Klerk? Fafy is one of the most tenacious rugby players, like the smallest man on the pitch whenever he plays, but maybe the hardest man on the pitch as well. Some of the defensive shots he put in are just awesome. And yeah, 2-time World Cup winner, British and Irish Lions tour winner, and just a great bloke as well. What a lovely man he is. 32 years of age. How long can he keep going? There's quite a few players in the South Africa squad around about 31, 32. And not all of them are going to make it to the next World Cup. Some of them will. Could one of them be Faf de Klerk? Or are guys like Grant Williams biting at their heels? Maybe going to oust them in the years ahead. We will see. For what it's worth, I think Faf de Klerk is world class. Hence, he's number 3. Now, New Zealand, you don't have a player at number 2 in the list right now, which would be Aaron Smith, let's be honest, had he not retired from international rugby. But you kind of do have a New Zealander in the top 10 at number 2. Because Jameson Gibson Park, he plays for Ireland, he's not Irish, which is just the World Cup eligibility rules. And you know what? I'd do exactly what Jameson Gibson Park did. He moved to Leinster in 2016, was brilliant for them, made his international debut. He wasn't going to play for New Zealand. Made his international debut in 2019, and he has been fantastic. And a big part of the reason why Ireland ascended to the number 1 spot in the world, played a key role in the winning a Grand Slam, and has just been all-round fantastic. His particular ability to up the tempo that a team plays at, the speed of Ireland's ball and the fact that he's able to get the ball away so much is a massive part of why they became, during the last year or two, the best attack in world rugby. Jameson Gibson Park, well done. You're number 2. And at number 1, surprise, surprise, look at this. I'm wearing a tricolour, basically, my jumper. Maybe that was subconscious because I knew I was doing a video where Antoine Delm was going to be the number 1. Not just the best scrum half, arguably the best player on earth. Didn't really get the opportunity to show that during the World Cup because of the fractured cheekbone, and he was absolutely devastated. He was on TV adverts all the time for Volvic, for Banks, for this. You couldn't move anywhere in France without seeing this guy's face. He was the face of rugby, and he was absolutely devastated. I thought he showed a little lack of class, the way he spoke about the referee following that South Africa game, but I'll let him off that, because what a player. The things he can do, nobody else can. And I still think he could be, by the end of his career, regarded as the GOAT, the greatest of all time. He's got the attributes to do so. He needs to actually follow through and win with France now. And that is what they'll be absolutely determined to do in 4 years' time in Australia. But no arguments. Antoine Dupont, the number one. As for the top 10 overall, what do you make of that? Like I say, look at all those arrows going up. That's because there's new faces into the top 10. There also the retirement of Aaron Smith from international rugby means that the rest of the players all shunt up one anyway. But yeah, there's quite a few players who drop out of the top 10. Ben White, Jaden Hendrickson, Connor Murray, Thomas Williams. Yeah, a little bit of churn and a little bit of turnover. And what do you think about that statement that I made, that overall this is not a great quality field when you compare it to some of the other positions that we've seen? Tell me what you think about that in the comments below. Give the video a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.